Well, hello there my dear friends, welcome back to the Scott Reed Project, and today another vintage book from my collection. This, like the pig book before, is an absolutely amazing book. It's got to be one of the sorriest looking books in my collection. I have had to wrap it in plastic to keep it in one piece, but what it contains in here is basically the Bible on butchery. There is nothing they have not got in here. So again, another old book. I absolutely love this. Whoever owned it before, put your name in. I think it's fantastic. I think this was originally printed in 1924. I could be wrong, but this is a third edition, so 1927. So we're looking at the Douglas's Encyclopedia, the standard book of reference for the food trades. Now, it is just unbelievable. There's lots and lots and lots of writing, lots and lots and lots of knowledge. But obviously I cannot show you all the writing, but what I can show you is some of the fantastic pictures in here. So it begins at A, Abattoir. This is the dodgiest part of the book. Just have a look. It runs through everything. Where you stun your beast, what you use, the pole axe, the old school method of it. Obviously wielded by the right guy, super effective. And the Gambrills, and there's a humane stunner there. And it goes on. It's got everything covered really. It's like a sheep dressing, cradle, various hooks. The roller systems for up in the roof. And it's just some of these absolutely awesome pictures here. Cold room for beef, cold room for sheep. Just superb. What I will do is I will zoom in the camera and show you some of these. What I like is they've got some local, well, in the UK, there's Leeds City's Meat Market. And also that one, I don't know if you can see that one there. That's Leeds Abattoir. So I don't know if any of you guys might remember any of this. Just absolutely wonderful. Anyway, we need to flip through this, and there's a lot of kit in here, which I won't say I remember, but it's definitely been in shops that I've worked in. And this is a good memory for me. When I worked in a wholesaler's, we had this rail system up in the roof, which is just mind-blowing. So clever. And it basically was a system like a railway track, and it had junctions which you opened just like a railway track. But you can also leave junctions open, and I've had like 6 sides of beef just fall on the floor. And I was on my own at the time, and I'm like, shit. I mean, they're weighing a lot, and you've got to try and pick them up on your own. I remember struggling with the hindquarters. They must have weighed, what? Must have been 180, 190 pounds. You know, that's all right if you're pushing that on a barbell or whatever, if you're into weightlifting. But when it's 6 foot long, heavier one end than the other, thinner one end than the other, it is a real problem. But it's just some of these pictures again, and some of these amazing bits of kit, which you just don't see. That is a bone cutter. So, going through, they've got these amazing maps here of the abattoir in Paris, one in Birmingham. So we're going on, we got to bacon here. I love this. This is, you know, when you get your bacon and it says on the side of it, I don't know, UK bacon or even Danish from years ago. They used to brand it on. Now it's on a roller on food friendly dye. They used to brand it. And there's the burner for actually heating the brand up. And there's the handle for carrying the branding, obviously in there. on the pig or whatever, job is a good one. So we're going through the bacon. Some of these fantastic pictures again of these old bacon factories. Hanging house, look at that, sides of bacon in there. Absolutely amazing. The likes of which we will most probably, seriously, never see again. Another cracking picture. Of a carcass, a side of bacon, and all the cuts involved. Now these hooks, I mean, those standard in butcher shops I've worked with, still using these today. They're just cracking, built to last. So we'll flick through the bacon. Again, this here, hanging rail. Absolutely love these. You'll still see these in some of the old traditional butcher shops. I think really makes a window. And in the 80s, you know, we really used to put on a show, used to put on a flash as it was called. So down here then, we have the double-handed block scraper. So basically, hands on and scrape the block. It's what I started using when I was a kid, and I do actually own one and still use it. I mean, this must be nearly 100 years old. This stuff was built to last and just built for the job. Absolutely cracking, that is. So moving on, we got all kinds of boilers, bone crunching machines. I mean, it's fantastic to see these. You know, again, the bone men would come and pick up all the bones and all the fat and all the waste, and in them days they would pay you. You know, these bone men, as they was known, you know, they drove nice cars, let's put it that way. They made an absolute fortune. They would come and get your barrels of bones and your fat, give you a couple of quid, and away they went straight to the pet food factory, I imagine, you know, and got paid by the kilo. But you know, it got rid of the trash, so it was a win-win really. But in the end, as time went on, it was strange. We ended up paying them to take it. Such is life and progress, I guess, if it is progress. Again, window display in brackets. Brings back a lot of memories, that does. A lot of memories. This here is an interesting thing. I can't pronounce this. It's the Brunel mask for humane slaughtering of cattle. Put it on the cow, it's actually got the built-in bolt. It goes into the slot there, you give it a tap, and it's good night, Vienna. I mean, it's a really interesting book. If you can get a copy, there is so much information in this. And yeah, it's 100 years old, but a lot of it in this trade hasn't really changed. We got a lovely cash desk here. Now, the butchers I worked in St. John's, that day, as butchers I was on about, he had one of them. I used to spend my break in there. And looking back now, you just thought, oh, it's somewhere to sit, have your sandwich. But then you look now, I mean, it was an absolute beautiful piece of furniture. Well, not furniture. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, part of the shop. To me, at the time, it was just a hut, but it was just like that. It's mad to think people will go in the butcher shop, buy all their meat, and then go up to this desk and pay for it. Not a barcode in sight. So, flicking through this. A view of the stockyards in Chicago. Ah, the choppers. I loved me a chopper. It's mad to think there's so many different styles. Always a favourite of mine. This big Smithfield cleaver, I suppose, for splitting pigs, splitting lambs. Same with that one. This is really cool. I wouldn't mind getting hold of one of these. This is a breast chopper, but I've got a collection of choppers. Got a couple of these in there, that one. You know, the only thing wrong with them is they're not stainless steel. That's why they don't have them in butcher shops today. But I personally use them for the channel because they are just built to last. There's no plastic handles, it's wood, you know. They didn't worry about wood handles. Everything was sterilised, you know, no one died, but now they're all plastic, 90%. You know, it's kind of lost that little bit of finesse, I suppose. So, we're going into the diseases of animals here. Full of recipes. I love this. This is a mock foie gras. Unbelievable. So, you know, foie gras is goose livers. Obviously, this is made with the liver of sheep or calf, cold roast pork fat, ground black pepper, ground allspice, minced truffles and button mushrooms. They'd never know. Amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Ah, another favourite of mine. The old Gambrills or Gambrills. Again, these are now stainless steel, but me, you know me, I still use them. Just beautiful. Again, 100 years old. It's perfect, and they come in various sizes, you know, so obviously you've got your lamb size, but me, mainly for my venison, so if I had a roe or a fallow, I'd put it on that, little munty on that. If not, just lambs, but yeah, I just love these, and it's all going up in price, this stuff. I've known butchers who have chucked absolutely rakes of this stuff away. So here we are again then, on to the stunning, this is the Greener's Humane Cattle Killer, which is a noiseless explosive apparatus, consists of a short rifled barrel, chamfered to receive a small cartridge loaded with smokeless powder. I mean, that's one hell of a diagram. So, moving on. More great pictures. Hams drying in Yorkshire. Now you think of Iberico ham and prosciutto in these wonderful caves. We do it just as good. Or we did. I imagine this doesn't exist anymore. So a ham stand, I've actually owned a ham stand. A ham stand, when I was 18, coming to the trade, obviously we had the meat counter, we had cold meat counter, and all our hams were carved on a ham stand. Well, all the top quality ones, now they're just put on a slicer and go through. But it was a lost art, it's a lost skill. You can imagine the leg of pork, the shape of it. You had to start it in a certain way and then turn it, and had to cut in certain ways. And looking back now, we were actually cutting, I suppose, the primals one at a time. And you got really good at it. I mean, when you first started, someone would say, can I have a quarter of a ham, quarter of a pound, 4 ounces? You'd be hacking away, it'll be one slice. But in time, you learnt to use that real thin-bladed knife, and you could follow the bone, and you could get wafer-thin ham. Amazing. Yeah, that takes me back. Ham stringer, got one of those, use it regularly. I love this illustration of a perfectly flayed hide, no knife marks are visible. Back onto the hooks. Gimbals, again, various hooks. Lard tools. This really fascinates me to think that they had equipment dedicated to lard. Now, we used to make lard in one butcher's I worked for, but it was nothing like this. It was just like minced up, put in a container, a drop of water, and yeah, just rendered out. But I just love the work that must have gone in this. And how much lard were these guys making, you know? You've got a designated power fat cutter, a lard agitator, and a lard press and various tools. You've got to love lard. So we got the pickle pumps or the brining pumps. Now this was used like we wet cure bacon, which I will be doing in a future video. They actually used to put these needles into the arteries of the meat so you could pump it from the inside as well, especially the leg of pork. You would find the femoral artery and then pump some brine in. So what it's doing, it's working from the inside as well as brining from the outside, so you get the perfect cure. Here we go. Another thing I like, these pig scrapers, and I absolutely love this picture of a rotary pig hoist. Just amazing. Pig scrapers, a bit like that one. Now I know Jack Hargreaves, one of my heroes, I think he did a bit on pig scrapers, but they are, again, from a bygone era. But as you can see there, they've got the point on it, which is one of those. Here's one I made earlier. I mean, I just love this. Obviously, you get the pig scalding hot, straight out, you would scrape it off. I mean, nowadays it just goes into a rotary drum. And this bit, believe it or not, was for pulling off the nails of the trotter. Very, very clever. So here we're looking at a furnace then. This would have been used for singeing the hairs off. And then again, we're back to this pole axe. I've been looking for one of these. I mean, it's just mad to think that a guy would wield this thing. And with absolute precision as well. In the day before the humane killer, I know the humane killer is in this, but it was a relatively new thing. For years it was done with a pole axe. Now here's another good thing, reminds me of Mr. Deus, the pie machine. He used to stand and knock pies out all day long and crimp with his jiggers. But this is a beautiful, beautiful bit of kit, which you can still get nowadays on eBay. They cost an absolute fortune. So you had a heated plate here. You put your foil and your pastry in, just around a pastry. Pull that down, the lever. It would obviously compress, spread it round your tray. Absolutely perfect. My God, I used to stand and knock them out all day. Brilliant. And this, I saw this the other day, you know, and I was thinking when I was making my brawn and all that, how cool it would have been to have a pie stock or jelly filter. So jelly for pork pies, just wonderful. This poultry disease is gapes. It's a disease which attacks poultry, but not poultry alone, as it is also met within many wild birds. But the detail is a drawing of basically its esophagus with little worms. Nice bedtime reading. So just powering through these then. I don't want to take up too much of your time on a book. The early refrigeration. There's a bit on dairy in there. Rolling bacon. Again, some cracking pictures. Saws, another thing I collect. It's funny how all the very old ones have got those really wide blades, and now we go for the really, really thin ones. I've got a couple of them. I still use those. This is what I like. Some of these pictures of these shop fronts. I mean, the work that went into them. You could always tell a good butcher's by the design of his wall, but just look at the work that went into this. I mean, you still see a few shops in some villages. You can tell a butcher's instantly. You know by the way the window is and set out. And 9 times out of 10, they will still have this at the bottom of the window. It's such a shame. Such a shame. I mean, I always look for old butchers when I can. Sometimes they're in the craziest places. You'll just see a bit of a remnant of a sign like a game and poultry dealer. Steels, we all know what a steel does. Actually quite interested in reading that, how, you know, some were better than others. The Germans made a good one, but some were more interested in having a decorative handle than the actual quality of the steel for sharpening. Hey ho. Various thermometers. Tripe cleaning. I have yet to do a tripe video, and I will do very shortly. It's a thing I just cannot get to grips with. I don't know why. I mean, we used to sell tripe. Basically, they'd come, just say, can I have a pound of tripe or half a pound of tripe? And they'd have a bit of vinegar on it, a bit of pepper, and just eat it out the bag like a pack of crisps. Whatever floats your boat, baby. But yeah, scales. Now, when I was younger and I worked at Jewess, we had a real bad winter and the electrics went down. It was one of the most amazing times I've had in the butchery. I think I was 18, the snow was high, all the roads were shut. And I remember I walked to work and the scales went down, and we actually had an Avery scales shop a couple of streets away, and my gaffer was like, you know, we won't shut, go and pop to Avery's and get an old school scales. So we lit some candles, and I tell you, it was just a brilliant day. Again, one of these steel yard scales, another ingenious invention that would take up to £200, this thing. So you'd suspend it from a hook, put your, I don't know, hind quarter, fore quarter on, and you would balance it up with this. Just so simple and absolutely bang on. So yeah, coming to the end here now, and the poor thing is really starting to look a bit sorry, but I thought I would share it with you. There's something that never changes, the block brush, the good old block brush. That's the bane of every young butcher's boy life. You know, you'd start off as a butcher's boy on a Saturday, and that's all you would do, is scrub blocks. But it was character building. So, just finishing off, and there you have it. The Douglas Encyclopedia of the food trade. So, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Scott Reed Project. If you have, please click subscribe when my face comes up down here. Obviously, if you want to see some more vintage books, let me know in the comments. Also, check me out on my social media. Facebook, Scott Reed, the Scott Reed Project. Twitter at the Scott Reed Project. Instagram at the Scott Reed Project. And if you want to share the love and help the channel along, please check out my Patreon page. Right, I'm going to put all my wonderful bits of kit back in their rightful place. And I'm going to sit down with a cup of tea and read a book. Take care, my friends. See you soon. You wouldn't like that up your nose, would you?